Namaste, namaste everybody, good evening, and also it's all great to see all of you. Today as part of the initiatives of Indian Cultural Association of North America Inc. and also part of the New India, which is like taking forward the glorious heritage, so which is now New India, which is shaping up. We are all gathered here to recognize and celebrate the really the milestone, I would say, in terms of Indian polity, where we are talking, where recently we saw the election of the second women, but also the first from the tribal and the background from where President Murmu has been elected as the president. So a big round of applause for such an election. So this is like trend setting in multiple ways. One, it gives an confidence that women can continue on this path of aspiration from any level of politics. Two, it also helps us to understand that people, we used to always have this term, hear this term, Dalit and tribal and all the stuffs. All these stereotypes have been broken. Third is, even people from a poor background can be aspirant of the New India. So that's exactly what New India is trying to convey. So here we are going to set it a little bit of casual structure, just some housekeeping. We'll keep smiling over the period of time. But we are going to first start with Deep Prajwalan. Deep Prajwalan is part of our culture. So I'd like to call upon all the ladies. Rajalakshmi ji is here. And also the ladies, if you could come along with Upendra ji and Krishna ji may be part of that. Yeah, please. So this will be only apt. If all the ladies should start with this, it will be great.
Shoes off.
Ganesh.
कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तवं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोति सादनं ॐ नमः ॐ मं गुरुवै नमः गङ्गणपतये नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः
Upendra ji.
भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पक्षे माक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सृष्टवासस्तनूभिः दृशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृधश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तो अरिष्टनेमि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति 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 हरिः ओम्
Ganesh, एक group picture है.
So, मेरा परिचय is Ganesh Ramakrishna is my name. I'm a volunteer from some Hindu organizations. Today, part of Indian Cultural Association, we're trying to do, every organizations are getting together. And now I'd like to first invite every people who want to share their thoughts about, because this is something very momentous, and it's not, it might have missed some of the, it didn't miss headlines, but it might have missed some of the, what you call the more narrative that should be spoken about. Because what it gives is, it's like a fad. One comes up and then stays. But this is a very, very biggest step that Bharat, India has taken towards the path of New India. So with that, it will be only apt to call Rajalakshmi ji to first start about the election, and she can share a few words on that.
Krishna ji said that to read her bio, so I'm going to read about our new current Vanavasi, second Mahila Rashtrapati. Smt Droupadi Murmu ji was born in a remote village of Mayurbhanj, Odisha. Smt Murmu ji worked as an assistant teacher and a junior assistant in Odisha State Irrigation Department. Smt Murmu ji started her political journey with BJP in 1997. Smt Murmu ji was elected twice to Odisha State Legislative Assembly and served as a cabinet minister during 2002 and 4. She was felicitated with the Best Legislative Member Award. Mrs. Murmu created history as she became the first woman and first tribal governor of Jharkhand. Her personal life remained full of struggle and tragedy. She lost her husband, 2 sons, and another child as well, another daughter. She lost 3 children altogether, but she stood strong on all occasions. She was the first person from tribal communities to be elected president. She's the youngest and the first individual person born after India's independence in 1947 to have been elected as a president. This is, I call her, take care. She's divinity incarnate. She is, you can see it in her face, you can see it in her words, you can hear it in her words. उनका एक लाइन जो उन्होंने कहा था, मैं अकेली हूँ, spoke volume. So with that, Krishna ji, you want me to still talk?
Yeah.
I hadn't prepared anything. I wrote this for me, and this is something, I brought it with me. I had written, so when I saw the elections, I could not stop watching those Vanvasi, their celebration. It was as if, I'm getting choked up, it was as if somebody gave them a place on earth, a venue, somewhere they are able, all of us are recognizing them for the first time. That's how I felt. And I couldn't stop watching all this, their dance, and they were so proud to wear their, their tribal costume and their drums, sing. They were doing tribal dance, and they did not hide themselves. Droupadi Murmu represents the struggle of each and every female. She represents being a female, and I'm in corporate world. I just shared with some people what I wrote in my Twitter handle. And it resonates, and when I shared it with my daughter, my husband didn't agree with me. पुरुष वर्ग इस बात को मानता नहीं है. आप देवी कहते हो, देवी की तरह देवी माँ को घर लाते हो.
English, please.
Oh.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
आप उनको घर लाते हो, पूजते हो, पर क्या जो आपके साथ खड़ी है घर में, उसको भी उतना ही सम्मान देते हो आप? नहीं देते. ये स्ट्रगल है द्रौपदी मुर्मू का. And when I'm a little bit, I'm not only spiritual. Since Dadaji left, I have been in hiatus. So उतना मैं नहीं actively काम कर रही हूँ जितना पहले करती थी. But question is, do we give equal importance to the girl child in our family? Do we think that, do we say she is even smarter than the boy child? We don't. And I am also guilty of that. Because I brought those with me. And I had to program myself. That is what the Droupadi Murmuji's struggle was. When she started running for the president election, she was called a rubber stamp. Her history, her work history doesn't say so, that she stood in front of all those men and she refused certain laws that were coming in her way in Jharkhand, and she refused to sign those because they were going against her tribal community. So she is a strong woman. And what I said, Gori chamdi ke log, I don't mean gora idhar ka gora. Gori chamdi ke log accept karenge, that'll be her struggle. Those Lutyens gang, और कृष्ण गणेश जी इसीलिए मुझे बुलाते हैं कि मैं बोल देती हूँ ये सब. Those Lutyens gang that are in Delhi, गोरी चमड़ी वाले, इतनी सुंदर, इतनी दिव्य, इतनी तपस्वी, द्रौपदी मुर्मू को एक्सेप्ट करेंगे? अब क्या करोगे भैया? वो तो आ गई, अब वो आपको नाच नचाएगी. तो ये एक, this sounds very much, when she lost her 3 children and her husband, she went into depression. I didn't go into depression, but these were my words, but they fit very, I didn't write out of depression. I wrote these words out of my longing for the divinity. Mero vastra bhi lino, mero shastra bhi lino, mero mantra bhi lino, mero tantra bhi lino, ab bas Ram hi rakhyo Ram ji. Mero sej bhi suni, mero bhes bhi suni, mero kes bhi suni, mero mang bhi suni, eka kar gaye sahib ji. कोने घाट छिपू में अब तो बात तो हुई जग जाहिर साहिब जी. राजा दियो, राम भी दियो, सपे लियो ए साहिब जी. जो उन्होंने एक लाइन जो कही है, मैं अकेली हूं, वो उनका अकेलापन जो था, वो ईश्वर के साथ जब वो जुड़ गई, then she started reinventing herself. So this is our thank you.
This definitely is very apt. Thank you, Rajalakshmi ji. It was like a very good emotional connect as well. And just to let you know that she, in her speech, she talked about 4 revolutions that happened in the Vanvasi. Actually, she put the word rightly, which we should not use tribal, rather use Vanvasi, because they are the Vasis in Varna. So that is, she used a very rightful term. And out of that, the 4 Vanvasi, revolutions she talked about. She hails from the Vanvasi of Santal. So there are 4 revolutions she mentioned: Santal, Poi, Koi, and Bhil. So these are the 4 revolutions she talked about. Also, she introduced what you call the Sabka Kartavya. everybody's duty, everybody's responsibility is for us to serve. So she talked about the twin tracks of Sabka Prayas and Sabka Kartavya. So with that, I'll call our next speaker, Shri Upendra ji. Upendra ji, probably address and share your few words about this President Murmu.
I will speak in English for the next audience. Some people may not understand. No, it's a very July 25th, on that day, that Droupadi Murmu ji, Her Excellency, became the President of India, and she's such a bold person that she said, "My real name is not Droupadi. My name is Puti." And one of the teachers in the school gave me the name Droupadi because she did not like my name. And in their tradition, in their culture, the women, girls, take the last name of grandmother, and men take the grandfathers. So her grandmother's name was Murmu. That's how Droupadi Murmu. And it's, when you get a name like Droupadi, Droupadi is a character in Mahabharata, which is a very strong, very powerful character, and a direct connection to Krishna, Lord Krishna. And she was able to overcome many obstacles. And so I think her teacher saw in her that she's going to succeed going through all kinds of obstacles, and that's why the perfect name for her, having Droupadi as the name. And talking about the women's journey in India, it is, you're right about that, and there is that disparity, female child versus a male child is always, even my mother, she was not given education beyond seventh class because she was a woman. And these are all ancient times. But I think instead of dwelling on the past, what we should think about is to go forward, see how we can reform the system. Systems cannot be reformed by just sitting there and talking about it. We have to become activists. We have to go out there, educate the people, and make them sensitive to this issue. Gender issue is a very important issue. And there are only few, United States has not elected a woman president, it's been more than 300 years. So it is a challenge, I think that is what, but the most important thing is that putting emphasis on education, I think that is very important. So that way, we need to create more engineers, women engineers. We need to create more different professionals. I think that has to be done. It's a process, it's a movement that I'm so happy that color is something changes. People who are light color, they want to become dark by sitting in the sun. And people who are dark, like Michael Jackson, he was trying to bleach his skin to become white. So I think people always look for something they don't have. It's not the color. Once you go underneath the skin, we're all red, right? So I think that's what we have to do. I think the intellect of the person, you talked about the intellect of the president and how she went through, and she was also a governor of Jharkhand. And so I think we have to celebrate her. Of course, she's going to come up with a lot of things. She's the second, because Pratibha Patilji was the first woman president of India. So it's great. We have a great opportunity to look at that. We also have to look at the perspectives in America also, because one of the things in America is that there are a lot of organizations looking at violence against women. United States passed a law called the Violence Against Women's Act, and a lot of immigrant women or trafficked women, they come into this country and they're abused and they're left abandoned. And so there are a lot of issues here also. We also have to focus here. India is important, very important. America is also important, because this is where we call it a karma bhumi, and India is a janma bhumi. So we have to focus, and it's hard. There's only so much time is there, and talking about in America itself, we have a lot of people trying to hurt India by passing house resolutions and all that. And I'm not going to talk about that, but we need to learn more about that. And thank you again, and let's celebrate.
Thank you, Upendraji. That was very inspiring. Especially the things that you left for us to ponder on was something like an activist, and also taking that active participation, especially for the women. So with that, I'd like to call upon the